Last week, I chatted with Connie from The Painted Photographer. She is the founder of Connie Lines and Designs, and she is an incredible artist and designer who recently retired from her 9 to 5 to pursue her creative business full time. Connie creates the most beautiful rice papers, teaches workshops, inspires makers everywhere. And she's joining us again for this year's Vintage Soul Creative Retreat. This episode is filled with a ton of insights and inspiration just for you. So go give that one a listen. Now, let's chat about old picture frames. Thrift store shelves are full of forgotten frames, some with broken backs, some without glass, most just collecting dust, but every single one has potential. And in today's episode, I am going to show you just how easy it is to take those throwaways and turn them into trays, organizers, message boards, and a whole lot more. Trust me, you guys, you'll be raiding your stash by the time we're done with this episode. So let's dive in.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you guys are new here, I love to interview creatives and small business owners. And today, though, we are diving into a fun DIY topic. Old picture frames. You know, the ones I'm talking about, and maybe they're tucked away in your basement or stacked in your garage, or maybe you just scooped one up at the local thrift store because you thought it had potential. Well, today I am going to be sharing with you some creative, functional ways to turn those forgotten frames into something beautiful and useful in your home. So, whether your style leans more farmhouse, vintage, or just a little bit more modern, I've got a bit of inspiration for about just about everyone. So, and be sure, I have to mention this, you guys, and be sure to stick around to the very end because I have a fun announcement. Next week's episode is going to be a little different. I'll be on the road and recording from one of my favorite cities, Nashville, Tennessee. So pack your creativity and your cowboy boots, and we're taking Rescued and Upcycled on the road. Anytime I'm out thrifting, I always grab old picture frames. I can't help myself, you guys. They're one of those things that I just never want to pass up. I'll be at the Goodwill bins and I'll be digging through the bins, and I am always on the lookout for all different sizes. But I love the big chunky ones. The bigger, the better. I just feel like there's so many possibilities with big frames and it's harder to find them. And or I feel like in a store you can't find the big ginormous picture frames, and at the Goodwill bins you find them all the time, and most of the time it's just the frame, so there's so much potential. In fact, I recently found a gorgeous vintage frame at the Goodwill bins, and I used it to frame in my husband's deer head, and let me tell you guys, it completely changed the look of that wall. There are just so many creative ways to use old frames beyond just putting a photo in them or just a print. So, if you've ever picked up a frame at a thrift store and thought, gosh, I really love this, but what would I even do with it? This episode is definitely for you. Today, I'm going to share some clever, creative ways to turn old frames into beautiful, functional decor for your home and garden. Don't ever forget about your gardens, guys. I have so many garden lovers out there, and you can come by these frames so inexpensively that you can tuck them in your garden so beautifully as well. All right, so let's start off by really, they are so easy to find at thrift stores, okay? Old picture frames are honestly one of the easiest things to score while you're thrifting or hitting up a yard sale. There's tons of them, and many of them may still have prints in the picture or in the frames themselves. They may even have, think about, like, mirrors. You don't necessarily have to use it for the mirror. You can take the mirror out and use the frame alone. They're often overlooked by others, you guys, which means you usually can find them in abundance and at super low prices. And if you're anything like me, you probably have a few in your stash already, just waiting to breathe a second life. So, one of the best things, though, about vintage frames is that they're in a variety of sizes, and there's a variety of them. And you can find ornate gilded edges to simple farmhouse wood. Just no two frames are exactly alike. And you'll usually find multiple sizes. So, beautifully aged finishes, unique details that you just can't get with something brand new from the store. And I often talk about, you want to not shop at the Targets of, the Target, or, don't pop into Walmart and pick up a frame. Thrift it, you guys. You can find something so unique and make your home look so original. And if that frame has good bones, don't think you can't upcycle it or change it. There's so many possibilities. Let's say you love the shape, but then there's nothing on it. You can definitely take, like, an IOD mold and add molds to it, and then, put some paint on there and some dark wax or white wax. You can make it truly your own, a unique piece that no one else will have. So, whether your home leans more farmhouse cozy, boho, eclectic, or you have that classic vintage vibe, or if you're clean and modern, an old frame can actually be adapted to match whatever your vibe is. And like I said, a quick coat of paint, a new backing, or even just leaving that chippy patina as is can make it blend perfectly and seamlessly into your home decor, and whatever style that you lean towards. Plus, you guys, this is the one tip. Upcycling frames is a great way to keep perfectly good materials out of our landfills. I'm always talking about rescuing an item and upcycling to keep out of the landfills. So, by doing this, by rescuing it and upcycling instead of buying new, you're making a sustainable choice. And that's kind of both the planet and to your wallet. And it is a small step that makes just a huge difference in the world. I truly believe that. And I want to keep as much out of the landfill as I possibly can. And decorating your home doesn't have to cost a fortune. Old frames offer an incredibly affordable way to add charm, texture, and character to any of your spaces. With just a few simple supplies, you can transform a dusty old frame into something that looks custom and truly high end. So, let's take a look at a couple different ways. I actually broke it down into about 8 ways that you can use your frames. And there are so many more. I just chose 8. But the first is, you take your frame and create a tray. So an old frame just makes a perfect base for a stylish serving tray. So you can simply just add a backing. So if you find a tray or a frame, add a wood backing to it. You could even possibly do tin. If you want to add a piece of wallpaper to that wood board to give it a little, extra color, you can wallpaper the board. And then all you need to do is attach handles to each side. And you've truly created a custom tray that's perfect for, like, a coffee table, your vanity, a kitchen counter, whether you style it with candles or books. I love styling with vintage books, or use it to serve guests. This upcycle truly adds instant charm to your home. And that is another thing, like, you can add details to your tray. So there are so many amazing DIY tools right now readily available for all us upcyclers. I remember when I first started upcycling, I I wish back then I had available what I have now. We are so blessed, you guys, to have the amazing paint lines, that we have IOD. I look at all the amazing products that IOD has, like the molds, the transfers, the stamps, their paint inlays. You can take these amazing products and create the most unique piece for your home. And then you can layer it and create age. I just think of like milk paint and how you can, if you love that chippy goodness, you can create that chippy goodness on your tray. And then you can add depth and dimension with like the products like waxes, there's glazes, there's so many things that you can do to create exactly the look that you're going for. So, the next one, I have done this and I found the most amazing frame and I created a chalkboard. So give a frame new life, and by creating like a message center. So you can paint, if it's glass, you can paint the glass or the wood backing. You can go out and purchase chalkboard paint to create that reusable surface to write notes. I've also just used flat black paint and then I've taken a piece of chalk and seasoned it. If you have I learned about seasoning chalkboards. You take the chalk, lay it on its side, and then rub it back and forth, and it's all covered in chalk, and then you wipe that chalk off, and it's officially seasoned, so it looks like it's actually been used. Um, but it's perfect to create a reusable surface for notes, grocery lists, inspirational quotes. You can take it a step further by adding, even small hooks or knobs at the very bottom where you can actually hang your keys. If the hooks are big enough, you can maybe hang mugs, or just make it a hanging organizer. It's very practical, cute, and just adds personality to your kitchen, office, or your entryway. I love leaving notes for my kids. Well, my son now is 25. He just turned 25, but I always just loved like writing a note for them when they or came home from school. There would be a little note on the chalkboard. It's just a nice, or like I love quotes, like inspirational quotes, and maybe change up an inspirational quote on that chalkboard each and every week. But again, you can create and make that frame exactly how you want it to look. If you can't find the exact look and feel, again, you have those tools to do exactly what you need to create that. So, another thing that I did, this was a lot of fun, is take cork board. So transform your frame into a stylish and functional memo board, you guys. All you need to do is find that cork, like either cork tiles or a cork roll, and then staple it to the very back side. And it honestly makes the perfect way to organize whether your recipes, pin inspirational quotes, display postcards, or just keep track of your to-do list. Hello, I have a ton of to-do lists. And then hang it either in like your craft room, your kitchen, office space. And it just helps you, or gives you a little bit of like an organizational boost with a bit of vintage flair. So I love that idea. And actually, when you walk in our back door, we actually have a vintage chunky white frame and it has corkboard on it. And I have stuff pinned all over it and I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I use all the time. Um, Now, taking a frame that you found and creating your own art print or artwork. You can, very easily print like a botanical or art print off, offline. Again, you're really limited to that 8.5 by 11 if you're printing it from your home computer. um or Connie, she creates the most beautiful rice papers and she hand draws all those. I always say Connie does all the hard work for us. She creates these beautiful pieces of artwork, and then we can transform them into our own very art. So we can take her artwork and frame it. You can find beautiful prints too at the bins, but or rice or decoupage paper too. So don't, ever forget about that. You can create your own unique artwork. Take different pieces of mixed media and create a piece of artwork in a frame. So there's just so many possibilities. And again, it will be unique to you, and nobody else will have that exact same piece of art in their home. Um, the other thing too, this is a great upcycle. You can take an old frame and create like a jewelry or accessory organizer. So, by repurposing that old frame into a jewelry display, it's super simple. Just add some chicken wire to the back. I mean, you can use other items to maybe like lace or mesh across the opening. I just find chicken wire is so like if you have that farmhouse vibe, I love the look of chicken wire. You can also take the chicken wire and you can even like rub paint on it, or you can paint it white or turquoise or whatever speaks to you. If you love fuchsia pink, um, and then you can hang earrings, necklaces, and other accessories directly onto that, in each of the little chicken wire loops. And it really turns your collection into functional decor. And for extra storage, again, attach a few knobs or hooks at the very bottom, and you can put your rings, your bracelets, or even scarves. So it's both practical and pretty. But I have done that as well, and I actually used it as a display at my store. But yes, it's a perfect display piece. So even if you have a booth, it is perfect for that as well. All right. The next thing too, create a wall pocket or a planter. So I have seen these. So you can do it a couple ways. You can just take a frame and add a wall pocket, like a wood box or a basket to the very bottom. You can also find something like wood dowels that go across, and you can like create like a 6 pane window even to add a little bit more character to that frame. But it really is as simple as just adding a small box, like or a wood pocket, like I said, or a wire basket to the very bottom of the frame to create a charming wall mounted container. And you can fill this with dried flowers, faux greenery. You can use it to house your mail or even paintbrushes and craft supplies. And this is just such a great way to turn a simple frame into something both decorative and useful. And you can put it in your entryway, your garden shed. Would it not be super cute with all like your tools, your gloves tucked in? I know personally that I am always like, okay, where did I put my gloves? Where is my shovel? Where is, like, where are all these things that I need, but I set them down like randomly? I need to be much more organized. And this is such a cute and decorative way to house everything in one spot, even in your own creative space. So you can even put jars in it and have your paintbrushes or other, art supplies sticking out of there. I love it. And I've actually seen these go for quite a bit in different vendor booths. So another great way to upcycle an old frame. So, what I recently did on a live is did a layered frame wall collage, but I didn't do it on a wall. I did it on my door here in my studio. And I'm looking at it right now. I grabbed 6 old frames, and I had been collecting them for a while because, like I said at the beginning, you guys, I am obsessed with frames and I love the different shapes and sizes, and I love ones that are ornate. I'm always just looking for a good frame that has good bones. And so I grabbed 6 of them, or I think I probably had more, and I kind of was laying them out, and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to put this whole wall collage or this door collage together. And I decided to layer them. So I have 2 different round ones, and I have a smaller round one in the bigger round one, and then I have a square one, with another square one inside that, and then I have another really big round one and another round one on the very bottom, and I kinda have them staggered, and I painted the door one of my favorite colors, French, eggshell from Fusion, and then I added a retired, IOD transfer to it, and oh, you guys, it just looks so good. I love it. And I love how the inside frames I can add quotes to, I can, stick different images in there and change it out with the season. So it just helps give, I did that to a door, but you can do this to your walls as well. And it gives your walls just more of like a designer feel by layering a mix of old frames in various styles and sizes. And like I said, some can be left empty because mine sometimes are empty. And an empty frame is still like art. And while others, you can have still like a mirror in one if you want. You can put some fabric, signs, photos, and then like I overlapped, I put them inside of each other. You can overlap them if you want. So you could even like have like 2 kind of next to each other and have like one on top of both of those. So there's just all different ways to add depth and dimension, and just really create a curated and collected look that feels truly high end, but totally DIY'd by you. And it's a perfect way to use up a whole lot of your stash of mismatched frames. I took all the frames and I wanted them all to have a very similar look and feel. So what I did is I painted them all black, and then I put white. I believe I used white swan, and I did white swan on all of them from DIY paint, and it's a chalk style. It's actually a clay based paint, and I wet distressed them to bring back the detail, and the black just shone through, and I just love it. So I'll have to post that again on my Facebook page so everybody can see it, because it is one of my favorite things that I've created in my home. Actually, it's in my studio, or well, this is my shipping and receiving room. I don't know, interchangeable. I use it for a mix of different things. So definitely consider doing that. Now, the last thing is more of a seasonal item. Think of old frames, you guys, as a perfect foundation for seasonal decorations. You can add ribbon, floral picks, ornaments, or themed signage to create just a unique holiday item. Whether you attach like a wreath to it, or you put one in a seasonal vignette, hang it on a door, wall, or leave it lay on a table as part of a centerpiece. It's just an easy way to refresh your decor throughout the year without starting, from scratch. I love it. And you can, like I said, you can paint it. Like if it's for the holidays and you want it red, paint it red. And then later on, oh, it's for fall. Oh, I'm gonna paint it like a really beautiful orange. I'm gonna paint it. It's so easy now just to paint and reuse, and like I said, repurpose. So all right. So those are 8 ways that I came up with to use the frames. But again, you guys, Pinterest has thousands of ideas out there, and there are so many unique ways. And like I was saying earlier, do not discard your garden. I had seen one where they took a frame and they had it hanging in a garden. So you were looking through a frame, and it was like looking at your garden, and that was the picture. It was just so cool how they had it hanging. So keep in mind there's so many ways to use frames, and always be on the hunt and the lookout for that perfect one. And if it has good bones but maybe not the perfect color, or you want more detail, remember all the tools right at your fingertips. Now, I want to mention before you start doing any prep work to it, you want to definitely give it a good cleaning, you guys. Before you start any makeover, I always recommend, washing and giving your frame a good clean. Remove that glass if there's glass in it and any loose hardware. Wipe the surface with just like a damp cloth. And if there's any flaky paint or even glossy paint, lightly sand it just to create a better surface for paint. If you are going to be painting it, a little prep work, you guys, goes a long way in making your projects definitely last. If you use it out in the garden, also, I would recommend sealing it. Our winter, well, just the elements in general are really hard on stuff that should be inside your home. So, be prepared that it may not last a lifetime because it's out in the elements. And really, you guys, this is where the fun begins. You can completely transform a frame with paint, chalk paint, mineral paint, milk paint. I love milk paint. You can do dried brushed effects. They all work beautifully. But sometimes even leaving that original wood or that original finish just has its own vintage charm. And personally, I love old chippy paint or just that distressed looking wood. It's just it's amazing. And just trust your gut and let your frame's character guide you. And whatever vision you have, just go with it and let it work with I don't know. I just love creating, you guys. So I love seeing what something becomes because sometimes I have a vision, and as I start applying molds or I start applying paint or I am trying to like envision where I'm going to put it, my whole idea that I had come up with changes, but it changes for the good. So just let it guide you and let your creativity shine through. Now, the next thing too, I wanna mention is, like, backing ideas. Many of I hear this all the time when I'm upcycling frames, like, "What do you use on the back, and how do you hold it in?" The backing, of a frame, you can use if you want to use something very easy, there's foam board. It's very lightweight and easy to cut. Some of you may not have a saw of any kind, so a foam board is a very easy way to hold it in. And then you can just use either like a staple gun or even those little tiny nails to hold that in place. Or yes, hold the foam board in place. While wood, though, adds a bit of rustic and very sturdy base, I typically use wood when I can. And that, again, I hold it in place I have a nail gun and I nail it into place once it's in there. Canvas can also be used, and you can paint canvas. Or stencil it. You can do whatever you want. But those are some really good bases. But yeah, canvas, there are all different sizes. You can go to your local craft stores, and any of these you can decoupage on them. You can use paint inlays. You can use transfers. Your creative resources are endless, but with any of these backing options. So choose a backing that fits the project and adds texture or purpose. Okay, guys? And then I talked to where can you shop for frames? You can shop anywhere, honestly. You do not need to look far to find old frames. Definitely check those local thrift stores. I love shopping at the bins, estate sales, flea markets, even your own attic or basement. You may forget that you have stashed a whole bunch of them. And I like recently went in my basement and I'm like, I forgot I had all these frames down here. But just look beyond the color and condition and just pay attention to the shape and the detail, the structure. And honestly, you guys, those ugly ones are often the best candidates for a beautiful transformation. They truly are. So definitely think outside. I was going to say the box, but maybe I should say think outside the frame. Anyways, um, but styling ideas, they aren't just, upcycled frames are just not pretty. They're incredibly functional and can be styled throughout your home. So keep in mind, you can, like I said, you can hang them in your kitchen. We talked about that earlier, with that chalkboard or corkboard for grocery lists or reminders. You can put them in your bathroom to hold, small baskets, organize your jewelry. You can put them in your studio or your craft room, your garden porch or shed. Just there's so many possibilities, you guys. So don't be afraid to mix it up, pairing like ornate gold frames with rustic wood ones, just to create that curated, not cookie cutter look. Mixing sizes, colors, and textures it truly just brings personality and depth to your home decor. And it's a great way to use up those mismatched frames that you've collected over time. So I'm not bashing at all like the Targets of the world or like the stores where like IKEA where everyone goes and then everyone has that same look. It's just really nice to have a really unique style that when people walk into your home, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Where did you get it?" And you can say, "Well, I made it. I DIY'd it," and then you can proudly tell them how you did it, and they will be so surprised that you were able to create something so beautiful and unique. So, other ways too I want to mention is old frames are a dream also for gallery walls, you guys. They're perfect. And if you haven't listened to, I think it was like 2 or 3 podcasts ago, I will be doing a gallery wall and I'm going to be doing it on a live. And I am starting to collect and curate pieces for a gallery wall that is going up my stairs. I have had that the space has been like, oh, it's been so hard to decorate. And so this is going to be a perfect space. I have collected a few frames for that. So I'm really excited to incorporate into my gallery wall. So, and if you are afraid of pounding nails into your walls, you guys, because like with a gallery wall, like I talked about, or there's command strips. There's so many other options now, but there's also putty that you can put in there and nobody will even know that you've and the nails, some of them are so small that you will never be able to see that there was a hole. I know some people don't like hanging stuff because they're worried about holes. I'm like, I have so many holes in my walls because I'm always moving stuff and changing things up. But I realized very quickly you can patch those babies up. So, but so the next time you guys see an old frame at a thrift store, or dig one out of your stash and look at it with fresh eyes, I want you to think there is so much potential in that simple rectangular item. And I encourage each and every one of you to try to upcycle a frame. Tag me in it on your social media post. I want to see what you've created. I want to hear the story behind what you did. So yes, definitely do that. I'm so super excited to see your upcycles. Now, talking about upcycles, if you love to upcycle and style your thrifted finds, then you're not going to want to miss this opportunity. I am hosting a free 3-day workshop at the end of August, and it's all about rescuing, reimagining, and restyling vintage and secondhand treasures. So, whether you're brand new to upcycling or looking just for some fresh inspiration, this workshop will be packed with hands-on, like a hands-on project, styling tips, and a ton of creative energy. So, more details are coming in August. So keep an eye out for that. And this is your chance to gather your stash, spark some of your creativity, and then really just join an amazing community of makers who love turning something old into something beautifully new. So I hope to see you guys there. And I hope today's episode got you looking at old picture frames in just a whole new way. Like I said, from trays to chalkboards, gallery walls, jewelry organizers, there's just so many fun ways that you can give these cast offs a second life, and a stylish one at that, you guys, and very unique. So if you decide, like I said, to give any of these a try, I definitely want you to tag me in that post. But next week, you guys, like I mentioned earlier, I'll be podcasting from Nashville, and I've got something really special planned. So be sure to tune in. I'll be sharing some behind the scenes from the road, plus more creative inspiration you guys just don't want to miss. But until then, happy creating. And remember, there's always beauty in the things that we rescue and upcycle. If you've enjoyed today's episode, though, do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Whether you're listening on your favorite podcast platform or tuning in over on YouTube, that way you guys won't miss a single episode of Rescued and Upcycled. You can also find me over on Instagram and Facebook, where I post a ton more content over there. Yeah, there's just a lot more content on the daily over on those platforms. So I want to thank you so much for being here today, and I hope that you're feeling inspired to look at old frames a little differently. I'll see you guys next week with a brand new episode, and this time, like I said, we'll be in Nashville. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.